If your PSA number ever came back higher than expected, even just slightly, this video might quietly change how you see your mornings forever, because most men are told to watch their PSA, maybe retest in a few months, maybe worry a little, maybe ignore it. But almost no one explains how the very first thing you do each morning may be sending inflammatory signals straight to your prostate without you realizing it. And the worst part is these breakfast habits are considered healthy by most men over 50. So if you've been trying to do the right thing and your PSA is still creeping up, this may finally explain why, and I want you to stay with me until the end. Because the final shift we'll talk about is the one many of my patients say made them feel calm again instead of anxious every time they thought about their prostate. Let me say this clearly and without fear or shame. A higher PSA does not automatically mean cancer. It does not mean something is wrong with you as a man. And it certainly does not mean you failed your body. PSA is a signal, not a sentence. And like most signals in the body, it responds strongly to inflammation, pressure, irritation, and metabolic stress. And breakfast is one of the most underestimated drivers of all four, especially after the age of 50, when your prostate tissue becomes more sensitive to blood sugar spikes, fluid balance, and hormonal signaling. In my clinic, I've seen men do everything right on paper. They quit smoking, they walk more, they even cut back on red meat. Yet their PSA stays stubbornly elevated. And when we slowly walk through their mornings, not their nights, not their supplements, not their medications, but their mornings patterns start to appear. And what surprises most men is that none of these mistakes involve junk food or laziness. They involve habits that feel normal, rushed, or even virtuous. The first mistake happens before food even touches your plate, and that is starting your day in a dehydrated and overstimulated state. Many men wake up, grab coffee immediately, maybe even 2 cups, before their body has had a chance to rehydrate after 6 to 8 hours of fluid loss. And here's what that does inside your body. Dehydration thickens your blood slightly, increases inflammatory signaling, and concentrates PSA levels temporarily, while caffeine on an empty, dehydrated system stimulates cortisol and adrenaline, both of which increase pelvic floor tension and prostate irritation. So even if your breakfast itself seems fine, the way you start your morning sets a biochemical tone that your prostate feels very quickly. The second mistake is relying on a breakfast that spikes blood sugar quickly, even if it's labeled healthy. Things like toast with jam, cereal, granola bars, fruit juice, or even large bowls of oatmeal without fat or protein. Because after 50, your prostate is more sensitive to insulin fluctuations than it was in your 30s. Blood sugar spikes increase insulin increases inflammatory pathways, and chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the strongest drivers of PSA elevation that has nothing to do with cancer. So when men tell me they eat light breakfasts and still see PSA rise, this is often the missing link. The third mistake is excessive dairy early in the day, especially milk-based breakfasts. And this is not about demonizing dairy, it's about timing and quantity. Dairy proteins can stimulate insulin-like growth factor in some men, and IGF signaling has been associated with prostate tissue stimulation. Again, not cancer by itself, but increased cellular activity that can nudge PSA upward. And when dairy is combined with refined carbohydrates in the morning, the effect can be amplified, which is why milk-heavy cereals or sweetened yogurt breakfasts are common culprits. The fourth mistake is skipping breakfast entirely, and then overeating later. Many men believe fasting is automatically good for prostate health, and for some men it can be helpful. But when fasting leads to stress hormones rising too high in the morning, followed by large meals later in the day, the prostate experiences repeated cycles of tension and relaxation that increase pelvic congestion. This congestion can temporarily elevate PSA and worsen urinary symptoms, especially in men with benign prostate enlargement. So skipping breakfast without structure can backfire quietly. The fifth mistake is eating in a rushed, stressed state, even if the food itself is excellent, because digestion is not just chemical, it's neurological. When you eat while stressed, checking your phone, watching bad news, or rushing out the door, your nervous system stays in fight or flight mode. Blood flow shifts away from digestion, pelvic muscles stay tight, and inflammatory signaling increases, and the prostate sits right in the middle of that stress response. This is why two men can eat the same breakfast and see different PSA trends over time. Now here's the part I want you to hear carefully, because this is where anxiety often creeps in. None of these mistakes mean you've damaged your prostate permanently. The prostate is remarkably responsive when inflammation is reduced, circulation improves, and hormonal signaling calms down. And breakfast is one of the easiest places to create that shift without medication, fear, or drastic lifestyle changes. When men make small adjustments like rehydrating with water before caffeine, pairing carbohydrates with protein, and healthy fats, reducing excessive dairy in the morning, eating mindfully, instead of rushed and choosing stability over extremes, PSA often stabilizes or even gently declines over time. And more importantly, men report less urinary urgency, better flow, less pelvic discomfort, and a calmer relationship with their own body. I also want to say something that rarely gets said. PSA anxiety itself can worsen prostate symptoms. Constant worry keeps the pelvic floor tense, increases nighttime awakenings, and disrupts sleep, which feeds inflammation further. So if you've been carrying quiet fear about your PSA number, I want you to know you are not alone and you are not broken. Your body is communicating, not accusing. As a urologist, my goal is not just to watch numbers on a lab report, but to help men feel safe inside their bodies again, to understand what they can influence and what they don't need to panic about. And mornings are one of the most powerful places to regain that sense of control. Not through restriction, but through awareness. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: your prostate responds more to patterns than perfection. You don't need a flawless breakfast. You need a calmer, more stable start to your day that signals safety instead of stress. And over time, that message matters. And if you've been feeling discouraged, confused, or quietly worried every time you see your PSA result, I want you to pause for a moment and breathe, because your body is still listening, still adapting, and still capable of healing when given the right signals. And this is not about fear, it's about understanding. And understanding is what gives you your confidence back. Stay consistent. Stay patient with yourself. And remember, your prostate is not your enemy. It's a sensitive organ responding to how you live. And when you start your day with intention instead of anxiety, your body often follows in ways that numbers alone can't fully explain.